I have been looking for a reason to do a video about Matt Walsh. If anyone's been watching my videos up until this point, I've referenced Matt Walsh in a few of my videos, but I never actually did a video on him until today. And I have to give a shout out to Kid Gravity, because if he didn't quote tweet it onto his page, I would have never seen this tweet, because I do not follow Matt Walsh. But for some reason or another, his tweets seem to pop up on my timeline, mainly because people are probably responding to the foolishness that he says. But look at this tweet that he posted up on May 18th, 2023. He said, "Karen is a racial slur. If I derisively refer to a random black woman I find annoying as quote unquote Shaniqua, or what everyone would consider it racist. The Karen slur is used to dismiss and degrade white women. That's the whole point." So as you can see, he has all these quoted tweets and stuff like that. Trust and believe, most people are not agreeing with anything that he said. So let's break this down right quick, because I think this is absolutely fascinating. He said Karen is a racial slur. How is it a racial slur? That's what I'd like to know. In case y'all are unaware, the word Karen, or the way that it's used today, came from white men. Black people didn't start calling white women Karen. If anything, I know that black people was calling white women Becky. I know that. I remember, black people would start to kind of kick that off. But the Karen one, the first time I ever heard it came out of the mouth of a white male. And I think it was a video I was watching, and then it just kind of latched on. If you look at it, they actually have, I think, a whole YouTube channel dedicated to Karen being Karen. And a lot of the times their interactions are, believe it or not, with other white people, whether man or woman, mainly man though. The so-called most feminine woman is not that feminine. Go look at some of those videos. These are some of the most resting in their masculinity type women you will ever see on video. So yeah, Matt, if you want to be upset by that, then you need to be look in the mirror and see, look at someone such as yourself. Because to my knowledge, it was white men that kicked off the whole Karen thing. So there's that. Then he says, if I derisively refer to random black women I find annoying as Shaniqua, or whatever, everyone would consider it racist. Well, to my knowledge, I think some of you have already done that. I was looking through the comment section, and it was a white guy that had left a comment under Matt Walsh's tweet and saying calling a black woman Shaniqua would be nothing new, amongst white people, because that's been going on for years. And they probably called her the Isha, as a matter of fact, remember a couple years ago, it was this white guy that had made this movie called LaQuisha, where he was a white guy on the radio pretending to sound like a black woman, or what he deemed to be a black woman. Y'all remember that? I believe it came out maybe before the pandemic or around the time of the pandemic. I can't remember. It was like a little small movie that I think was just relegated to streaming, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, they made a whole movie where a white guy was on the radio pretending to be or sound like a black woman in order to get an audience, because I think the synopsis was no one was listening to him just as a plain white guy. Like, he wasn't getting any viewers or any listeners, I should say. So what did he do? He ended up sounding like a black woman and named her LaQuisha. Remember, on the radio, you can't see your face. So she basically is a person that he just came up with that did not even exist. Matt Walsh, you probably have heard of this. I wouldn't be surprised if he did a whole video talking about it. And even if he didn't, the thoughts are probably already there. He probably has called a black woman or two Shaniqua, maybe not to her face, because he probably knows what the backlash would have been. And if he had said it, he would have got on his platform. He would have got on Twitter talking about his experience calling a black woman Shaniqua and how she reacted. Then he would have went on his YouTube channel and then said, did a whole soliloquy about it, and then try to make it seem like how black women hate white men. And so, that's just his shit. That's just how he is. So let's continue on with what he said. The Karen slur is used to dismiss and degrade white women. Trust me, I have heard worse. Again, this is a term that when I first heard it, it came from white men. But now that everyone else has latched onto it, now it's a racial slur. But notice who he said if he went up to a random woman and called her Shaniqua. Basically, what Matt Walsh is doing is he's trying to say that black people came up with the term Karen. We didn't come up with that term. Up until when white men was calling women Karen, white women Karen, Karen was just a regular name to us. Because believe it or not, I know some black women that names are Karen. So Karen can be a universal name, but it's usually always associated with a white woman, because I think it's safe to say most white women would be named Karen more than any other group of women. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other group of women with that name. And again, we did not create this term. It was white men that created the term Karen in that form. Now he wants to talk about degrade. Think about what Matt Walsh talks about on his channels every single day. And he has the nerve to talk about something degrade. Okay. And then he said that was the whole point. I think this, if I'm not mistaken, I want to believe that this tweet is in response to that PC woman in New York with that bike situation with those black boys. I think that's where this tweet is coming from. And it's like, you chose this out of all moments to want to put this tweet right here when there have been several before. Again, they have whole channels on YouTube dedicated to just quote unquote Karen interactions, and most of them are with other white people, both men and women. Believe it or not, most of those interactions aren't even with other black people. So what does that tell you? But he has to try to make it seem like it's a racial quote unquote divide and it's black people that are doing it. And you want to know what's so interesting? When you think about the stuff that Matt Walsh talks about every single day or on his videos, he's one of them people that, you know, is a real right-leaning type of person. You know, probably one of the people that says stop being woke, this, that, and the third. Can someone let me know down in the chat or in the comments, does this sound like their version of woke to you or not? Even people who agree with Matt Walsh on just about anything that he says, even as ridiculous as it is, which is most stuff that he says, we're in the comment section like, Matt, what the hell are you talking about? Like, really, what the hell are you talking about? And if anything, you would think that it would be a white woman that would put up a tweet like this, considering it more so affects her and impacts her than it does any other man. As a matter of fact, I remember a couple years ago, there were some white women online, and at the moment when there was a lot of white women who were acting in their Karenisms, this is before we remixed it to Carolinisms, against black people. Remember what they call a barbecue, but they call her Barbecue Becky. So it's that we still weren't calling them Karen yet, but the Karen eventually came soon after. And some white women online, it even got to the point where they made it into an article where trying to say that the word Karen was a slur. And these are white women. Matt Walsh was nowhere to be found to the so-called jump on the advocate train to back them up. That was a few years ago. I think this was even before the pandemic hit. But now he wants to hop onto this and say, oh, it's a slur. If I called a woman a black woman I found annoying Shaniqua, then I would be deemed as a racist. You might get your wig split if you said it to her face. And like I said, the fact that he even thought to put this up here means he probably has said it, or maybe even worse. The point of this is Matt Walsh is grasping for straws. And they're very unattainable, no matter how long the damn straw is. But these are the people that come online and think that they're so right about everything. They have this so-called high IQ level. I'm using one of Lisa Cabrera's talking points, the high IQ. Think they know every damn thing, and then they post stuff up like this. But yeah, I think this is really in response to that Sarah Jane Comrie, that's her name, with the bike in New York. And then you had some people online that are trying to cape for her. Of course, mainly people like Matt Walsh, as you can see right here. And other PC people, of course, getting on code, saying stuff that there's receipts. And I read some things where the lawyer had put out a receipt, but they blacked out the time, which lets me know that she's lying. And just a host of a bunch of stuff. But I just wanted to come on here right here because, like I said, I have not done a video on Matt Walsh, and I wasn't in search of trying to do a video on him, but this fell into my lap, and I had to take that opportunity just so y'all can get a glimpse of who we're dealing with here, whether directly or indirectly. Most of us indirectly, because most of us would never have a run-in with Matt Walsh. It may be a rare occasion where you might run into him. But if you do, bring this tweet up. F everything else that he has talked about. Bring this up. How he has said that the word Karen is a racial slur. But these are the same people that will sit up there and tell black people that racism and white supremacy isn't a thing. I'm sure Matt Walsh has probably said something along those lines, or something along the lines of, racism is over exaggerated, or it's not a big deal, or things like that. People like him will say that and then post stuff like this. You can't be the oppressor and the victim at the same time. You got to pick a struggle. And that's what they're doing. This is what we talk about when we say Dub S likes to take both sides of the argument. This is exactly what Matt Walsh is doing right here when he posted this tweet. He'll say this today, and then he'll say something anti-black tomorrow. Figuratively speaking, of course. He doesn't have me fooled, and for the most part, most of the people watching this right now aren't fooled by his antics either. I ended up coming across this article when I was listening to Blacklight Revelations talk about this on his live stream, and he was going through this article, and I said I have to incorporate this into this already ridiculous video about what Matt Walsh said, because when I tell you, y'all are going to laugh y'all asses off. So I hope that y'all are like not near anything y'all can knock over from falling over laughing at what y'all about to hear. This is about to be some straight up comedy, because I was literally in tears with everything that was being read. Hopefully I don't bust out laughing reading this, because I already got my laughs out, but something tells me I might end up breaking character. So this article is coming from a website called The Smattering, or thesmatteringnews.com. And it was written by a man named Jeff Charles on May 18, 2023, where it says, breaking, Matt Walsh calls on white conservatives to reclaim Karen like black folks reclaimed nigga. Already we are off to a bad start, but let's go ahead and get into it. Nashville, Tennessee. Just weeks after the Daily Wire's Matt Walsh complained about white folks not being able to use the N-word, he made waves by identifying another societal ill, referring to entitled women as Karen. He wrote, Karen is a racial slur. If I derivative, I'm not even going to read that because we already went through that in the actual tweet itself. So we're going to keep on going. It says, but now Walsh and other conservative influencers have concocted an ingenious idea to counteract the stigma of the label and reverse years of oppression. In a stunning display of linguistic genius, conservatives on social media now discovered the perfect parallel between the term Karen and the N-word. They seek to repurpose the term Karen, much in the same way black Americans have reimagined the word nigga as a term of endearment. If the blacks can take back the N-word and prevent us white people from saying it, why can't we do the same with Karen? Walsh asks on a recent podcast episode. I think this just might catch on. Other conservative influencers and activists told The Smattering that ever since the alleged slur became popular around 2016, white Americans have been viciously oppressed by people using the word to apply to entitled white women. And like I said, this term was coined by white men. As a matter of fact, I actually just found out, and someone had told me, that Dane Cook, who was a white comedian, was the first person to use that word Karen in a stand-up show, in a stand-up routine, in the way that it's used now. And that was years ago. So this was probably before 2016. Again, it started with them, but they're throwing it and dumping it onto us like it's our fault. Because, it's always our fault. we're the bad guy. We're the boogeymen of society. It's just so dehumanizing, said Rick Donovan, a Republican activist in Nashville. We have come too far in this country to have everyone thinking all white people are entitled women asking for a manager. He added, even white people are using this racial slur to oppress other white people. This internalized anti-white racism is going to be the death of us all. Somehow, when death comes upon you, I doubt it's going to be because of this word. And the thing is, Karen, at the end of the day, is a name. And it's not even a name that's just regulated to white women. As far as a name goes, I've said before, there are black women named Karen. There are other people really out here that are named Karen. It's not just white women. But the way that it's used is mainly focused on them because of the way that they act. It's nothing racial at all. How many black people do you know name their child nigga? How many black children have nigga as their name, their first name on a birth certificate? None. So I don't know what the hell they're talking about. But again, to me, it's all comedy. This is funny to me. Like, I got all my laughs out. I think I'll be able to get through this. Some of y'all are probably in the chat like, what the hell are they talking about? But like I said, this is the definition of grasping for straws. And then they say even white people are using this racial slur. First off, when did the word Karen get labeled a racial slur? Never. It's not even on the same scale as the N-word. Nowhere near it. It's not even a slur. Period. They said, while some might argue that the N-word holds a deep historical and cultural significance stemming from centuries of racial oppression, some conservatives argue that calling someone a Karen is pretty much the same thing. Now, false comparisons. That's what they know how to do. False comparisons. I understand the N-word has been used to demean and dehumanize black people for centuries, said Hannah Partridge, who runs a nonprofit called Stop Anti-White Hatred. When Rob first read that line, this was probably the biggest laugh I let out in the entire stream. This woman, Hannah, has a whole nonprofit called Stop Anti-White Hatred. But it goes on to say, but now we are the ones being oppressed. I don't know how. Sometimes I feel like the white version of Kunta Kinte when I log into Twitter. So so one of your feet is missing is what you're saying. It was cut off. Wow. Okay. Right-leaning influencers have encouraged their white followers to start using the supposed slur as a term of endearment with other white folks. And Rob actually made a good point on this line right here, where he said, this is showing you, or to all you black conservatives, or I call you black conservatives, that this party, conservatism, is for them. Y'all are just there as puppets and pets. It says, whenever I see another white person at Whole Foods, I've been saying, what's up, my Karen, said Gunther Fox, a conservative YouTuber. When I see other white people acting crazy, I say Karen's is wildin'. Now, here's the thing. He said, what up, my Karen, like how black people say, what up, my nigga, or when we say niggas is wildin'. But he replaced it with the word Karen. See how much we live rent-free in their head? This isn't even original. And I know that it's nobody out there literally saying that. I would like to see a video of a white person going up to another white person, another white woman, and saying this in a genuine conversation. First off, it would just look and sound awkward and cringe as fuck. He added, last week I was playing golf with my friends, and after I won the round, I told them, you Karens ain't shit. But see how much they watch us? He couldn't even formulate his own structured sentence in a tone that would sound like a white person said it. He structured it by how a black person would say it, by replacing the N-word with Karen. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia, who recently argued that calling someone a white supremacist is akin to using the N-word, another false comparison, is said to approve of the effort. An aide speaking on condition of anonymity told the smattering that Green told an audience of young Republicans that every time she hears someone use the supposed slur, she has nightmares of being forced to pick cotton in a field for no pay. Oh my God. So, Marjorie, besides the fact that you completely insulted all of our intelligence, even those who aren't even black, you said you have nightmares of being called the word Karen, or you have nightmares of being forced to pick cotton with no pay whenever you hear the word Karen. The lies and delusions, y'all. If this video has done nothing, we know it has done this one thing. It is showing you how delusional the common PC person actually is who has a platform. A lot of these individuals who have big platforms, big followers, big numbers, and blue checks, and being verified and whatnot, and who have a huge following, a lot of them are dumb as hell. Matt Walsh, Marjorie Taylor Greene, this Hannah Partridge person, that Gunther Fox, and a lot of the others that aren't mentioned in this article are stupid. And they play on the stupidity of their followers who are just as dumb as they are, if not more, for them to actually subscribe to them and listen to this rhetoric. Like I said, this is funny and comedy to me. I may be talking in a serious tone, but I actually laugh at this because these are the same people that will go around saying how smart they are and how much of a high IQ they have, but put out stuff like this. We know why they do it. The only smart part about it is they know people are going to watch it. Maybe they know that their followers are dumb. One thing Trump said back in when he was running, initially back in 2016, didn't he say that most of his supporters are dumb? And what happened? They still voted for him. This guy said, I grab him by the you know what, and the second biggest voting block he had was white women. A lot of people seem to forget that. He knew he said all of that and people would eat it up. This man has said a lot of controversial things and they will eat it up all the time. Like the part where he said, I can go out in the middle of the city and murk a lot of people and nothing would happen. And him just saying that and nothing happened to him. The same way that they hang off of every word that he said is the same way the people hang off of every word these knuckleheads say. A lot of them believe what they're saying. Some of them don't, but I know a grift when I see one. We know that they're doing this for the money. They know exactly what to say. They're trigger words. But the fact is, black people still be still have your head on a swivel. Because they are triggering to them. No need to get up. As black people, we don't need to get upset by this stuff right here. I know some of y'all are cracking up. Many of y'all probably gonna come back and listen to this again just to digest or internalize what you just heard. And then move on to the next thing and probably still cackling in the back of your head like, did they actually say that? Yes, they did. This is not made up. This is what they are saying. This is what some of them actually believe. It's crazy how this video just started off on Matt Walsh talking about this to this spreading on to many of the other stands saying the same thing. Now, what I would like to know is down in the comment section, what was the funniest part to you in this whole video? Between Matt Walsh's tweet to me reading this article and seeing the absolute ridiculousness of what other quote unquote conservatives, or as I like to call them, conservatives, said when it came to the phrase Karen.